Hello, I'm the Analyst, and normally I'm here to talk about the biggest box office flops. Today, however, we'll be returning to the wonderful world of Star Wars. Back in May, I covered the very first entry in the series, A New Hope, in time for its 40th anniversary. And now, I'll be covering the next audiovisual entry in the franchise, in time for the 10th cinematic outing of the franchise, The Last Jedi. No, it's not The Empire Strikes Back, which many consider to be one of the best outings of the franchise, but what came out a year and a half prior, widely regarded to not just be one of the worst moments in Star Wars history, but also in television history as a whole. This is the Star Wars Holiday Special.
The Star Wars Holiday Special.
Originally and only aired on the CBS network the night of November 17th, 1978, this variety show was meant to maintain interest in the franchise as audiences waited for the sequel, The Empire Strikes Back, in the face of Star Wars' massive success, and was brought about by studios demanding more ideas for related products. Creatively, who is to blame for this? Well, CBS is the one who suggested to George Lucas, who had the merchandising rights for the series, the idea of a variety show, and they decided to go with it, to give it a little variety. The special took 5 writers to do the script. The first 2 were Leonard Rips and Pat Proft, who, along with George Lucas, came up with the story dealing with Chewbacca getting home to his Wookiee family for Life Day. Once they finished their first draft and outline, based upon notes about Wookiee culture Lucas had given them, Bruce Vilanch came on and created many of the variety aspects in order to get around the fact that much of the dialogue would be indecipherable. Ken and Mitzi Welch, who also produced the special, would finish work on the script with the 4th draft of the teleplay done in September of 1978. Now, the original director of the special was David Akamba, one of Lucas's college classmates, hired based on his work for the 1976 Nelvana special A Cosmic Christmas, which also got Lucas to bring on Nelvana for an animated segment, which was the inception of Boba Fett. However, frustration with the producers and his inexperience led to Akamba leaving the project in the middle of shooting. So veteran television director Steve Binder was brought in to finish, and would subsequently receive directorial credit. The budget of the special came in at $1 million, or less than 10% of the budget of the original Star Wars, though that budget would run out by the time production had finished. So does it live up to the infamy? Okay, I know that the Nostalgia Critic already reviewed it, and the Cinema Snob, and the Smeghead, and I Hate Everything, and probably many others. But still, I think I can bring something new to the table here, so let's dive right in. We open with what looks to be stock footage of A New Hope with TIE fighters chasing the Millennium Falcon, but footage in the cockpit is new, with Chewbacca concerned he won't get back in time for Life Day. But Han reassures him and they blast off into hyperspace. Then, the narrator, an uncredited Art James, comes in to reveal the key players of the special.
Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. With Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca. R2-D2 as R2-D2.
He credits R2-D2 as being played by R2-D2 and not Kenny Baker because Kenny Baker didn't play R2-D2 here. The droid was actually a remote-controlled prop, which was fairly impressive for 1978. Then we come to the big reason this special gets so much hate: Chewbacca's family, or more specifically, the fact that their dialogue is untranslated grunts. Is there a translation feature on here?
Take it out.
Ah, much better. You know, the Wookiees are actually meant to be saying things, their dialogues in the actual script, but for some reason it wasn't translated. I'm betting that was on George Lucas, who wanted to maintain the authenticity of the Wookiee language from A New Hope. However, just because their dialogue is indecipherable doesn't mean you can't tell the context of it. Their body language is more than effective in conveying what they mean, a feat the actors should all be proud of. Here, you can tell that Mala wants Lumpy to take out the trash. That reminds me, let's introduce the family. We have Mala, Chewbacca's wife, played by Mickey Morton, Itchy, Chewbacca's father, played by Paul Gale, and Lumpy, Chewbacca's son, played by Paddy Maloney. We first see Itchy and Lumpy playing with toy starships before Mala tells Lumpy to take out the trash.
Take it out.
Now!
Right now.
Later.
Now!
After doing so, and coming surprisingly close to killing himself, this is meant for families, right?
Would you like to watch this?
Yes!
Calm down.
We get a circus performance on a holographic cassette projector. Where this comes from baffles me, though it gives us a little break from the Wookiee dialogue. After that, Lumpy washes the dishes, while Mala and Itchy check traffic control for any nearby starships, but no results. And that means Chewbacca isn't there yet, so they check in with Luke Skywalker, and oh my god, he looks off! That's because Mark Hamill had been injured in a car accident before the making of the special, so they covered it up with a lot of makeup, which isn't all that convincing. The injuries hadn't fully healed by the time Empire started filming, so they wrote them into the script by Wampa Attack.
Be quiet.
Take it easy.
But he's...
Take it easy.
Anyway, Luke says that Han and Chewie had left already, while he's working on an engine, and reassures the trio that they'll make it.
Bye.
Thank you.
You know, these segments aren't as bad as people give them credit for. They're not good, but if they had been better executed, then the special probably wouldn't live in such infamy. We then meet trader Son Dan, played by Art Carney, who is clearly meant to be one of those salesmen trying to get you to buy stuff you don't need.
Imperial Guard. I suppose you want to see my identification.
No, I'm off duty. I've come to look around your shop.
Wait, so they aren't always on duty, hunting down the rebellion? They can have off time? This is blowing my mind. Anyway, Mala contacts San while he's talking with the officer, and he covertly tells her that the two are on their way before finishing up with the officer, who takes the grooming item San had been offering him. We then see Darth Vader in unused and redubbed footage from A New Hope ordering a blockade and search around for the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk. Most of this special is considered non-canon nowadays, so that's why the Wookiee homeworld is named Kashyyyk here, but everywhere else named Kashyyyk. After that scene, we get another one of the most infamous parts of the special, Harvey Korman in drag, as Chef Gourmanda telling Mala how to cook dinner.
Step 1, we stir the mixture. Stir, 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 stir. Stir, 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 stir. Very nice. Now, step 2, while we're stirring, we also whip. So it's stir, whip, 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 stir. Stir, whip, 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 stir. Now, let's try it again together at an increased tempo, because precision is very important in this recipe, and we do want to have a fine consistency, don't we? So, and on the count of 1. Stir, whip, whip, stir. Stir, whip, whip, stir. Come on, faster all together now. Cooking can be fun. Stir, whip, stir. Stir, whip, stir. Ah!
After this sequence, we cut back to the Falcon, which has exited hyperspace to run right into an Imperial convoy.
Why do I always think that taking you home for Life Day is going to be easy?
Got me, boss.
And things get worse when the Empire declares martial law on the planet, meaning it's going to be a lot harder for Chewie to get home as a blockade has been set up, preventing any landings or departures. But that hasn't stopped Han before. And then we get a commercial break.
General Motors. People building transportation to serve people.
The Trail Tracker with Play Map and 4 crayons. New from Kenner.
Sunday evening at 7, 6 Central and Mountain.
For your miserable combination of all these symptoms, this is better. New Comtrak.
The Wookiees are frightened, but a familiar face then arrives.
Yes?
It's me, Sondan.
It's Sondan, with a proton pack and gifts for the Wookiees.
Is this all a big hello I get?
Me.
I brought you something special, shortstop. You want it? You got it. Happy Life Day.
Son gives Mala her gift. After Sondan sets up the mind evaporator for Itchy, he then begins his experience and we see... swimming sperm? No, wait. We get Diane Carroll as Itchy's fantasy in the first musical number of the special.
Bend this minute, infinitely extend this minute.
This was meant to be for families, right? Because it looks a lot like porn.
Life right now.
Actually, it is meant to be porn, but had to be toned down to get past the censors. In fact, it's even written in the script as being as dirty as it looks. The sequence looks just like a drug trip, and it turns out people were on drugs during this. Much like Carrie Fisher, writer Bruce Valanche was high on cocaine for the production of the special. And then they all get a call from the last of the original trilogy's 3 protagonists, one that we haven't seen yet, Leia, along with the last of the series' comic relief, C-3PO. Wow. The original trilogy has a comic relief for each character, essentially. R2 for Luke, Chewie for Han, and 3PO for Leia. Anyway, Leia asks for Han, but...
No can do.
Mala, are you alone?
No, man is here.
However, she does get Son on the line and has him watch over the clan until Chewie gets back.
Goodbye.
Eventually, the Falcon gets on Kashyyyk, or as we know it, Kashyyyk, but they're gonna have to lug it from where they land to avoid Imperial patrols. Chewie's family realizes that the man of the hour has arrived, but when they open the door thinking he's arrived, they are met with stormtroopers. However, they don't know this is Chewbacca's home, just that 2 males, 1 female, and 1 child live there. Son tries to smooth things out and promptly gets on the nerves of the Imperials. Anyway, he does set up the gift he gave Mala for the Imperial commander, which results in the next musical number, this time from Jefferson's Starship, and runs for a solid 4 minutes. In fact, the Imperial officer actually seems to like it, which solidifies the special's point that even the bad guys of the franchise can actually be human beings. Once the musical number is done and Son is ordered to leave, the Imperials then search upstairs despite Lumpy trying to keep them from it, and they trash his room, even destroying his toy Bantha. While they do their search, Lumpy occupies himself with what many consider to be a highlight of the special, a cartoon about the rebels. And my god, these characters look off. Even more off than Luke from earlier. Of course, this was animated, and it's not always going to be perfect. Anyway, in the special, when the Millennium Falcon goes out of control, and when trying to contact the ship, they find Han upside down, Luke and the droids follow them. The Falcon, having been searching for a talisman that can turn things invisible, both ships land on a mysterious planet, and Luke's ship is attacked by a water monster that eats part of the ship, though it's fended off by Boba Fett?
I have 2 droids. We've come in search of the ship that crashed near here.
Maybe I can help you. I am Boba Fett.
Oh yes, the ensemble dark horse of the Star Wars franchise has finally made his first appearance. Boba joins Luke and the droids, going to the Falcon where Chewie destroys the talisman, it having caused Han's current state and now has affected Luke. Fortunately, there is an antidote and Boba sets off to get it, reluctantly taking Chewbacca with him. Inside the city, Boba Fett contacts Darth Vader, revealing himself to be
the best bounty hunter in the galaxy
and a spy. However, C-3PO and R2-D2 turn out to have been watching him. Somehow. So when Boba returns with the antidote, they reveal the bounty hunter's deception to Luke, forcing him to flee instead of then attacking while they're still recovering. I kinda don't get why he just wouldn't attack them.
We'll meet again, friend.
And indeed, they would meet again. Once his room is clear, Lumpy realizes that the Imperials need to go and decides to use the transmitter Son got him and watches an instructional video hosted by Harvey Korman playing a malfunctioning android.
It will provide many years of fun and valuable service for you.
If there is a low point in all of this, we found it. And this justifies a lot of the hatred the special gets, as it runs for a good 4 minutes, is just slow and agonizing to watch, and doesn't really contribute all that much. After finishing their search of the house, the Imperials then proceed to watch some mandatory viewing, which results in what many regard to be another one of the special's highlights, and arguably the best part. The cantina scene with bartender Akmena, played by B. Arthur, who did this because her youngest child loved Star Wars, and she gave this special her all as the no-nonsense, engaging bartender. And at the cantina we meet Krellman, played by guess who? Is it A. Harrison Ford, B. Art Carney, C. Anthony Daniels, or D. Harvey Korman? If you guessed Harvey Korman, you're correct, as this is his third and final role in the special, as an alien who drinks from his head and thinks that Akmena has a thing for him, bringing her a flower. The Empire, however, orders a curfew in effect, closing the cantina. Akmena tries to get her customers out, but they show no signs of obeying the Empire, so she decides to give them all one last round of drinks and a song.
I'll run a tab for the Empire,
saying,
"Good night, but not goodbye."
Which is undisputedly the best song of the special, not just with the lyrics but also the melody, and B. Arthur doing the singing doesn't hurt either. Once everyone else leaves, she finds herself alone with Krellman, finding that the two aren't that different. Also,
Mos Eisley Spaceport. You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
It's not that wretched. Once that video is done, Lumpy uses the transmitter to trick the Imperials into leaving the house. And they do, but one is sent to stay behind for when Chewbacca, the man of the house, arrives. Said trooper gets suspicious and finds Lumpy with the transmitter, breaking it and chasing him outside, only for Han and Chewie to arrive, just in the nick of time. Han disarms the trooper and then tricks him into tripping over the railing. The Imperial officers call for the fallen trooper, but Son tricks him and says that he ran off, saving Chewbacca's family. At last, it is time for the Life Day celebration.
Yes.
And for some reason, all the Wookiees are seen wearing these red robes. There is an explanation for this. The budget ran out. They needed to save money on makeup. So, the extras playing the Wookiees just had part of their bodies covered in the fur, and the robes would cover the rest of their bodies. Plus, all the lighting was done with store-bought candles and was filmed in an airport hangar. After the group walks through the stars or something, they are joined by Luke, Leia, Han, C-3PO, and R2-D2, with Leia providing a song followed by a montage of events from A New Hope. Of course, this is probably the weakest of the 4 songs, and because of her cocaine usage, Carrie Fisher wouldn't remember doing this. Hey, did you know that Mark Hamill was supposed to have a song of his own? But he vetoed the idea. And the special ends with Chewbacca and his family at the dinner table, holding their hands as almost if in prayer. This is actually a very powerful moment, as there is no dialogue, just the 4 in silence, relying on the music and their body language to depict what's going on. And that was the Star Wars Holiday Special. And is it as bad as people say? Actually, it's not that bad at all. It's a very interesting watch all the way through, seeing more into the legendary Star Wars universe, getting not only a better insight into the various cultures, but also into the people. Granted, parts of it haven't held up that well, like the effects and the animation, and some of the sketches aren't that good, but had they been better executed, it truly would have been a masterpiece of the extended universe. As it is, though, it's not enjoyably bad, it's simply enjoyable for what it is. A fitting send-off for the 70s variety show, getting us wanting more from Star Wars, as well as a surprising commentary on the awkwardness of the holiday season. Of course, its negative reception left it in old shame for George Lucas, Harrison Ford, Anthony Daniels, and Carrie Fisher. Of course, not everyone had a miserable time. B. Arthur, Patty Maloney, and Lev Mailer, aka the guy who stole the grooming tool from Son, did enjoy their time working on the special. And Mark Hamill thinks that while the special isn't good, it's fascinating enough to mandate a home video release. That's something I can agree with. Did this pay off with viewers? Well, the special wound up being seen by 13 million people in its only airing, which was second best in both of its 2 hours behind Love Boat at 8 and the second part of World War II miniseries Pearl at 9. While that'd be underwhelming in 1978 ratings, when more people would be watching the big four networks, that number would be pretty solid viewership nowadays. The Star Wars Holiday Special would have disappeared entirely had it not been for the advent of home recording software that preserved it long enough to be uploaded onto the internet. The only known copy of the special was given to Carrie Fisher, which she often used to end house parties. Of course, in the words of George Lucas, if he had the time and a sledgehammer, he would find every single copy of the special and smash it. In the time of the internet, though, he has as much chance as the US government does of truly ending the black market. If you want to watch the special, I attached the link to the version of the special I watched for this review. I also attached the link to the commercials aired during the special, as well as the 4th draft of the script I used for the dialogue. Thanks for watching, press the like button, be sure to subscribe, and follow me on Twitter at Tyler the Analyst.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get short.
Stir, whip, stir, whip, 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 stir. Stir, whip, stir, whip, 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 stir.